Evening all, welcome along to the LWB Club Football Pod. We're on episode 5. We're looking back at quarterfinals from last weekend. We're looking ahead to semi-finals next weekend, and we're also having a look back at Carlow Ladies Football Finals here. The episode, as always, as it has been during the course of the championship, is brought to you in association with Recovery Hub in Carlow, Milano's Takeaway in Bagnestown, Seamus Byrne Electrical. If you want floodlights, Seamus Byrne Electrical is who you hit up. Carpenter's Bar, Lounge and Restaurant, Ray Whelan Limited, the Baba's Barbershop, Fine Framers, J&J Services, and Scats Bouncing Castles. We give a shout out to Precision Media Productions as well. Unfortunately, John didn't get around to getting his clips for tonight, so we may make do without the clips. Maybe next week we have a couple of them to go through. They're a great addition to it. I don't think there's anyone else in Leinster doing it live on one night about their club championships with live video analysis. They are, fair play to them. But it's something that definitely we pride ourselves on here on the Left Wing Back podcast. And thanks to John for supplying the clips to us throughout the championship so far. The man covered 9 games, I think, or something over the weekend. So we'll cut him a bit of slack on that one. We have a lot to get through. I say this every week, but I'm going to start with what was perceived to be the most anticipated fixture of the weekend. In terms of excitement and quality, it was probably one of the poorest games of the weekend. And that was Éireog and Rathvilly. 1-9 Rathvilly, 8 points Éireog. There goes my prediction for the championship. And yes, I am an idiot. In fairness, Brian, you have to give your due to Rathvilly. When it comes to these games, they're 9 times out of 10 written off. They're very seldom favourites. And a lot of the time, they tend to come up with the goods when it matters, despite poor performances previously. Am I too harsh in saying that this was shit enough as a game? To be honest, I thought it was a spectacle it was anyway. I thought there was a lot of basic mistakes. I have a lot of positive things to go through with the other games later on the programme, folks, so it's not going to be doom and gloom for the hour here. But I don't think it matters to you whether it was a bad game or not anyway, does it?
No, not at all. And good evening, Kevin. Good evening, Stephen. Right. I think a lot of what you say is fair enough. And I know, okay, last week I predicted Rathvilly, but I don't mind saying it now. At the time, that was purely because there's green and gold blood in my veins. Like, it wasn't based on any sense, because the way we've been playing was absolutely, and I shouldn't say we, so forgive me, but with the way based on the 3 previous performances, even the O'Loughlin performance wasn't good. And I even said to one of the players' wives actually, but before the game, just one of the comments was like, "Will we be within 10 points here?" Like, that was genuinely the fear. That was like, we just did not know what Rathvilly was going to turn up. Thankfully, the sweeper worked really well. Colin Byrne is the ideal sweeper. He's got pace. The Burns can read a game better than anybody, so he worked really well there. Brandon was brilliant, and obviously Brendan was excellent as well. Josh Moore was excellent. But as a spectacle, for the neutral, it wasn't good. When you're involved, like, supporting the team, like, you're kicking every ball, so there's a certain excitement there for us, and there's a certain excitement with a Rathvilly Éireog game. But compared to the game before it, there's no comparison for excitement. I mean, the goals, the battle with Casey and Noel and everything. As a spectacle, poor, but it was probably never going to be a great spectacle anyway, with the way the 2 teams had been performing throughout the year,
Yeah. Stevie, I suppose the scoreline, okay, right, yeah. In terms of bookmakers, it looks like it's a surprise. But the amount of scores that both teams tend to clock up in these games is generally in around that ballpark. They're generally maybe 10, like yesterday was 10 scores versus 8 scores. But I'd say if you go back through the annals of history, that's probably about average. Just when these 2 meet, it tends to be that sort of a game, a bit of a dogfight, a nullifier, whatever you want to call it. And I think in terms of Rathvilly, where we have to give them a bit of credit, we will come to Éireog as well. Brian has touched on a couple of lads there. I thought, Brandon myself was pretty good. Porrick Deering I thought was phenomenal. And maybe these aren't guys that you're talking about as match winners in a semi-final, but boy, God, they played a serious part, Stevie, didn't they?
Yeah, like, it was 4 points to 2, and I beside the man, I said to him, a goal chance here now is going to be, there might be only 1 goal chance in the game. I'd say it was only a couple of minutes after Rathvilly broke at pace and ended up with Conor Doyle at the edge of the square. He got bottled up. I turned across to Brandon Kelly, and the minute that went in, Rathvilly grew they smelt blood and they kicked on from there. Back to the legend, namely, Pádraig Dearden was making runs there in the first half. It was to try to make a bit of space, very selfless runs, and he ran himself into a standstill. You could actually see before half time his pace nearly changed because he was doing so much running off the ball. The scores were at premium, and I know compared to the first game, it's 3-4 goals the first half. There was 1 goal chance yesterday, I think. Well, 2 if you call Brendan Murphy shot off the crossbar in the second half. The ping
probably Gannon's one as well, maybe. I'd say you probably should have put that away.
Maybe.
Place it over, yeah.
That's
they're thin on the ground, like.
They're thin on the ground, and that's look, many always reckon next door here you stop Aero getting goals. Not too easy to do that, and that's what was done yesterday. And we're saying about Rangers, stopped them getting goals as well, But the score was 1-3 to 5 at half time. I think was there 3 points in when Brendan hit the crossbar the second half. Then the ball came in. Robbie kind of misjudged or mishandled it. No, it hit the crossbar. Probably never looked like going in, but you'd be thinking, right, these are things now, they're forgetting to let off. They might kick on here now, but just, Aero, I said it last week, played well against Ballinarana, but you can't press a button. And Rathvilly were in no better situation either. You can't just magic a button. I've seen plenty of teams this weekend in Kilkenny and everywhere that haven't been going well, and some teams have upped their performance. They're still in the championship more and moreover. It's very hard to, in a week-on-week championship, to get momentum, especially in the group stage where, after the first game you might be nearly through. But like Brendan Murphy yesterday, they're running the amount of space in the middle of the field. There was a lot of characters there: Jordan Morrissey, Morty Ware, Brendan Murphy. And you're looking at the scoreboard at the end of it. Jordan got 1 point. Aero scores, Gannon got 2 points. Chris Blake got 1. Niall Quinlan got 1 from play. A couple from frees. Conor Hull's got none. Holton got none. Reece Deneve. The far side you have, there's something similar. Brian Murphy got a point. He got 1 from play, 1 from a free. Gary Dempsey comes on to get a point. He hasn't played in a while. I know I seen him on the program a couple of weeks ago. The goal yesterday was that I thought just the change of it. It just gave. If Aero could have got the goal, maybe they could have drove them on. But the thing about it is, I know we're saying you're trying to compare to the first game. You're in the middle of the first game. You were looking at from the 2 ends of the hurling. John Owen texted over yesterday. They're the hurling player and game. Their lads are in the first game, and there was that bit of excitement in that because you're kind of those who's looking at the hurling regularly are kind of looking at like Danny Doyle. Where's he? He's not playing wing back. We're in 5. Next one, bang, is a goal scored, and then he's gone. We're still saying, is he still playing? That number 5 gets another goal. I know we can compare the 2 games, but every game is different. It's just Rathvilly. I thought Robbie Ryan carried a lot of ball yesterday. Lost selfish run. Brian Smith, I just thought the ball goes into him, it sticks. And I thought their Oaks full back clinic, they're missing a lot of experienced lads there. Mark Fitzgerald, Paul McElligott, Owen Root, all lads wearing 3, 6, 9s, all these jerseys, and hard to, compensate for all that and hope to win a championship as well. And look, okay, it'll be get knocked out in the quarterfinal is it's a big setback for Aero. But the Rathvilly, that'll bring him on leaps and bounds for next week. But also, it was a heavy game on him as well. So Pal, I was just looking, Pal and Rathvilly, Western Rangers and Tinryland, and you're going back to the 1950s. If you take Rathvilly, Rathvilly didn't come into prominence till 1983. There was 4 or 5 years in Carlow football, and the 3 teams were dominant were actually Pal, Tinryland, and Ballymurphy. And them 3 teams are going to be in the semi-final now, and Rathvilly have stuck their beak in as well now, and just can't be got over it. They're since 1983. We're talking with Seamus Darby got the goal 40 years ago today. It'll be 40 years ago next year since Rathvilly came on the scene, and they have been, our minors play them tonight over there in Fenna, and they're an example as a club. They just max out on what they have, and a bit like Sam Mullins in the hurling, I suppose, to concentrate and getting developing lads. There's always a little filter of trickle of lads like Brandon Kelly yesterday. Lads don't ever talk about size anymore because the chap is only a fistful. and he knows how to mind the ball. Got one chance of a goal, took the chance, and that was the difference in the wind-up. That was the difference.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I would like to mention there, right? So, and you mentioned a couple of those guys, but Brian Smith is another one over the past couple of years. Does exactly what it says in the 10, gets the ball, makes a stick, generally will come away with a score or two, and very underrated, I think, when it comes to this Rathvilly setup. You mentioned Brian Murphy there, and a couple of frees he's probably a bit wayward with, which is uncharacteristic. But from open play, I think Cathal Kelly did a pretty good job. And Cathal Kelly wouldn't have played too much senior football over the last couple of years for various reasons. And I think he had to be given a bit of credit for what he done yesterday, because, even though they didn't come away with the victory, if you were saying to yourself ordinarily, if you quieten Brian Murphy, you're probably going a long way to winning the game. And sure, then young Kelly steps up. Brian Smith makes the ball stick. Deeran is bombing forward for wing back. Brendan Murphy's doing his thing in the middle. And that's just the nature of it. Flipping it back to Éire Óg, it's just so weird to see such talented players make such uncharacteristic errors when we've seen them not do that for such a long time. And, I mentioned making the ball stick. I mentioned Brian Smith doing it. Didn't stick at the far side at all. Like that full forward line, geez, you could argue that's nearly a county full forward line. Like Colin Holt and Chris Blake and Niall Quillen, you're like, oh, Jesus. When you're going in like there, in any of those positions, you're going to be under pressure, or at least you should be. It just didn't happen for the lads. You know what I mean?
I have to give huge credit to the Rathvilly full back line. Barry John was like Mr. Consistent as always. But Luke Coleman making his championship debut, he
was very good too.
In a grudge match, like it wasn't an easy place to go for him, and he did very well. And Dara Kern, burst onto the scene last year, Mika Richards style, and on the county panel now as well. And we had a big problem conceding goals, 9 goals in 3 games, and clearly an aim yesterday was no goals to be conceded. Hence why the sweeper was deployed. But that full back line and the sweeper kept that forward line to, was it 3 or 4 points, he said. So kudos to them, and brave of the management to give Luke Coleman the chance, and he stepped up to the plate, and there were other changes as well that were brave and hard decisions to make, but they did it,
The amount of attacks that broke down in that area there, just in front of us there in the first half, so we're on the 45. The amount of Éire Óg attacks broke down there was, they were brought down for a reason. There was good defending from Rathvilly, and that just gave them the, once they got the goal, the sense to just every man just upped his game that bit more after half time. Then I think, they just it was like the Rathvilly of a historical Rathvilly Éire Óg game that Rathvilly have won. We'll say that just, Eric Malloy now, he's like, I was looking at him start and I said, okay, they're starting this lad. Last year he was coming in as a sub and it worked well, got a goal in the county final. If this wouldn't work well, Paul coming off the bench, he does some running in the game. He mightn't be the most stylish footballer in the world, won't be taking the shots, but he'll be making the space and could pop it out to Brian Smith or Brendan Murphy, whoever it is, and that's his job. He does it to the nth degree.
This is the most ridiculous statement of the year so far. I think the fact that he's played so little football over the last couple of years is nearly an advantage, because that bit of, I suppose, I don't know what term Brawley uses, right, but that bit of spark and that bit of kind of like what Rangers forwards are like. He just kind of does something that is not the norm, and occasionally that might drive people mad, but there is times then where a bit of magic occurs because it's just a little bit different. You don't know what he's going to do. You know what I mean?
Who would I missed the name? Who?
Eric Malloy.
Oh, Eric. Oh, cheers,
yeah. Do you know that sort of way? Like, I just get that. I get that vibe off him. Sure, look, he was an incredible underage footballer, and I think he's come back the last couple of years. He's made a difference as well. But overall, he hasn't played much football over the last 10.
You can tell with him.
Yeah,
and the soccer brain kicks in. Like, he gets it, and he's no fear in taking a second, stopping on the ball, and he'll take a stand in solo, and have a look around him. And you see, very few Gaelic footballers do that. The first priority, the first thought is move forward or keep moving anyway. But the idea of standing still and taking a solo, very few do that. And I know Stephen mentioned Gary Dempsey, but for a man who was always a sort of a a firecracker for us in the full forward line, came on yesterday and was the calmest man in Network Park and kicked 3 points that sealed the deal. Like, it was a great experience to be able to call on them. Like,
some sort to be able to bring in. Like, he just brought that little bit of steadiness, and even have a free taker coming down the stretch like that of that caliber. And I appreciate the frees he kicked weren't exactly, they weren't the hardest ones in the world, but he kicked them anyway. And fair play to him. Like,
actually, the free taking yesterday from all the teams was good. I think couldn't say there was any. No, there probably wasn't. The refereeing was good as well. As I suppose the frees were premium. Niall Quinn got 2. I think Brian Smith got 2. Dempsey got 2. Brian Murphy got 1 in this game. So there were, as I said, 198 points. It was a low scoring game. It was intriguing as much as I know. You're looking. The other game, it had 6 goals in it, and goals are great to get a game, sets it alight, as well. But I thought 10 scores, like, if Raffaele, like, they have the youth at the back and the bit of experience probably up front. Like, Gary Dempsey is 37 or 38 years of age. Like, and when I seen him in the program a couple of weeks ago, and I probably hadn't seen him for a while now. I didn't know, like, Kevin Murphy, like, was back. I know he played a bit the last day. He went off. Did he get injured yesterday, Brian? He went off.
Kevin, hamstring.
Yeah, he went off in it was the first half.
We've got to go different Raffaele point of view. So I'm bringing in the next man here to say congratulations. We're going to go to the ladies' football slot at about 9:45, but he's here now early, so I'll bring him in. Christy Bulger, how's things with you, sir?
All good.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put a tilt on these jokes now because we're making billboards over everyone. Congrats, man. Good victory on Saturday, and we'll come to that a little bit later. But we're obviously talking about Éire Óg and Raffaele here in the senior championship at the moment. And I'll come back a couple of things from. Huh?
I'll come back a quarter to.
Yeah, quarter to one. But look, all we've kind of said about Éire Óg so far is uncharacteristic, I suppose, errors from people that you don't expect it from. But one thing I haven't touched on yet, and I'll bring you in on this, is where they kind of elected to take shots on from. I don't have clips now to back this up, but a lot of them were just like complete posh shots. And I suppose you might give a bit of credit to Raffaele for soaking him into that trap, but it's not something you'd be accustomed to seeing with Éire Óg. Where for you did it kind of go wrong yesterday? And I suppose in general as a season, it hasn't been the best one for Éire
Óg. Yesterday, I thought that Raffaele just lived in our mistakes. We made so many ridiculous mistakes, and Raffaele got something to take away from the mistakes. Raffaele had pace though. There were a few really pacey players, and they broke us down very easy. I thought got through the lines easy with the pace. The pot shots, I suppose, if you're looking at the last 3 games, it was happening there as well. Like, we were 4 or 5 points up against St. Ireland. We hit 4 or 5 pot shots. They didn't go over, and that puts fire in the belly in the opposition because they're still in a game, So, just maybe lacking a small bit of leadership there. I thought, if you, I suppose this goes for every team. If you're attacking and the defense gets set up, you have to be just prepared to be able to keep the ball for 2 minutes if that's what it takes, and get strong runners behind you and get lads up in front of you. And if you have to go across the pitch, someone's going to bite off the opposition. But we didn't do that yesterday, unfortunately. And I suppose that's where the unforced errors in the pot shots came from. But in fairness, Raffaele are a good season side. They know how to win games, and that showed yesterday. Big time.
Yeah, it did, in fairness. And Stevie has said that a goal was going to be a big moment in the game. The chances were few and far between. If Gannon puts that away, is it a completely different game? Was it a big turning point, or do you look at the other end and you see the ball hitting the crossbar and the goal chances that Raffaele missed?
I'd be interested to see the stats because I actually thought it was always in the mental pot kind of, because both teams were kind of giving up ball easy, not easy enough, but uncharacteristic. Yeah. So I thought both teams were keeping each other in the game really. It was anyone sure 10 minutes ago, there was only a point in it. So it was always there, but I think Raffili looked the stronger anyway for the last 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Right, we're going to move on to the other one. I don't know what to do again for the first one, Christy, but it was an absolute home dinger. It was a great game of football, really, really enjoyable. And the way I was saying it to Stevie yesterday was, although supply was relatively limited at times to the Mount Leinster Rangers full forward line, and I'm talking about a period of maybe 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the first half, and probably the first 10 of the second half, you always felt every time a ball went in that something was going to happen, and there was a bit of danger. And like, when you look at the tally of 4-9, I mean, it's not too shabby. But when we went down the far side, and 2-11 isn't too shabby either, he just didn't really get that certainty about Bangstown in front of goal. They took some great scores as well. The earlier part of the game was phenomenal quality, actually, and all through it was far superior to the second game. But it was just a really, really good game. And Rangers are getting a bit of momentum now, aren't they?
Who are you talking to?
He's obviously not listening as usual. I'm used to that.
They lost the first game, but half the team were away. And like you could write a book now at this stage. Rangers know how to win games. They're seasoned campaigners. They know how to do battle and to get stuck in and win them dogfights. And like they never give up. You can never write them off. And like, of all the 4 teams that are in it, probably Rangers will really fancy themselves. They'll see a door opening here now, and they'll try to go through it big time.
Stevie, obviously, you were in close proximity to me for this, and at half time, you still fancied Bangstown. I still fancied Rangers at that point. What's the meat and drink of this one? Where does everything change? Christie's mentioned Bangstown or Rangers are proven winners in tight situations like that. They have the experience, but what's this boiling down to?
Like Bangstown, they go back from, was it 3 to 4 points or whatever, back to 1.
Yeah, there was 7 down. Yeah,
3 to 1 at half time, and you could say probably half time maybe came at the wrong time for Bangstown. You use a lot of energy getting back level, and sometimes you don't get ahead. Actually, they did. When the point down again, then Danny Dyle buried the goal to make it 9 to 3-4, whatever it was. But the thing about it was, the far end, as you said earlier, every time a ball went in, you had that fear. Like the 6 goal chances last week, they took 3, was it? 6 again yesterday, I think took 4. Said earlier about Air Oak teams, if you stop Air Oak scoring goals, that's the same with it with Mount Leinster Rangers at the moment. But they come on like Eddie Byrne, Ted Joyce. Ted Joyce has definitely improved in the last couple of games. Like they're playing football. The Eddie Byrne was actually we're at Neil Delamere the other night in Carlow, and I thought Delamere was going. He had Eddie Byrne for a couple of minutes now. He didn't go too much to town on him, but Mark Harpner was only two people away from him. And what was he doing on his sketch on REP.ie? And I was waiting for him to get Mark Harpner into it. But I said, I won't stand with Eddie Byrne to see will they win the match tomorrow or not now, and we can say he was ahead, but he wasn't in the pub anyway. But like the goal, he scored a goal. He scored. He's a presence up there, a thought Jack McCullough dropped back on him. No, look, it wasn't a skyscraper of a ball, but then he got the goal off for anything. But it's just to have a mix of, you can lob in a high ball to him, or Chris is good. Like they buried the first goal, like just that turned and stitched in the bottom corner. I said the other day as well, like that they have to stop him getting goals. First minute of a penalty goal, that's 1-1 to a point up after. Then Bonmar hits 2 cracking points.
Yeah,
up the field. As cool as a cucumber in the 4th and 5th minute, I think, struck over 2 points. But the thing about it, every time Rangers have got these problems in games, they've went up and got a goal, and you have to fight back and get them 2 points or 3 points back. Well, Lachlan Ladies last night conceded a goal before after got 3 points back straight away, nullified it completely. But like, you can't keep, they're Leinster Rangers, there's 10 or 12 of them county hurlers. They've that physical presence, they'll have the mental presence, they'll know, like Gary Kelly unfortunately went off injured, probably gone himself the next day. The 2 goals that Bangstown did get for Jeremy Clark overturned balls in the half a line. One of them was he ran to Gary Kelly. No, just getting the ball. It was nothing dirty around malicious. Ball's up in the far end of the field. Danny Doyle buries the two of them, and it's the drive on from this. It just couldn't get that. Probably need to get 3 or 4 points up, maybe. Just, and it's, again, unless you got the same scores, 13 scores as the opposition, 13 scores, their goals make the difference. And, the Chris Nolan got 1-3, I think, from play, 1-2 or 3 from play. And you've seen the battle he had with Andrew Casey. And, it was the two of them were literally in the square for half the game. And you could have had, it was, the ball wasn't even go up there. 1 minute they were pulling a dragon on, next minute having a chat, looking out with life going on down the far end of the field. And, the thing about to get the balance of, like, Danny Doyle got 2 goals and thought, finished the two of them brilliantly. And you can't take something away from that, score 6 points. But I think they lost his know-how to field as well. You know what I'm saying? And how can you say that's a wrong decision if he scores 6 points? It's just the spread of scores again. Like, Donald Murphy kicked a point near the end, but he was busy enough. But like Kevin McDonald and Fickers Patrick were quieter than were the last day. So there was a lot of good work done by Bagnallstown Gales, but still, the goals were the difference again. Just,
I think to pick you up on that, and Brian, I'll bring you in here. The fact that Rangers just always go for the juggler, they go for every time, and if it's not on, they don't force it. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen the clips that were out on social media, and it's not forced. They generally tend to take the right option, and I think that proved crucial yesterday. And yeah, ultimately, that's what got them the win. Unless you went into the country.
No, I think the only way a team is going to beat Rangers is they need to get ahead and stay ahead. Any team that tries to go with them tit for tat, you're asking for trouble, because they are the team that, with a minute to go, will hit a big ignorant ball in, and Feathers lock it down, and Chris Nolan will stick it, or whatever the case may be. And they wouldn't. They're not one bit afraid to do the unorthodox thing. They will just go whatever the most direct route, they're like a blunt force instrument, like. And the only way a team is going to beat them, I think, is to get ahead and stay ahead. And probably the team that does the most simple things, and it's such a cliche, but the one thing Rangers aren't going to have between now and a county final, you have to get there, is the real natural hand-in abilities and the real basic skills perfected. They just don't have the time to do it. They're natural athletes, and they've played football all their lives, but it's been their secondary sport. And when they come up against a team who's only ever played football at that kind of level, if a team can stick to the basics and tease them out and get into a footballing battle, and can stay ahead of them, then they'll beat them. But when the draw was made, I was fairly happy that it wasn't Rangers 2 weeks or 2 times in 3 weeks.
They got 3-7 from play yesterday. That's a fair, and like they didn't get any scorable frees bar. I'd say 2 or 3, whoever. Once they kicked one wide, they were born with any shot goal. Donald Murphy kicked one and Chris Nolan kicked one.
But
3-7 from play.
Well. Kicked it off the left as well.
Yeah,
like a two-foot free taker like that will probably never play county football. It's mad as well. It's just so unfortunate you don't see that. I'm going to go to predictions, lads. We've spent a half an hour talking about senior football. We haven't got the predictions yet. So I'll start with Rangers and Tinryland. That is at 3:45 on Sunday. And there's an intermediate game on before, and I'll get it's Kilbride and Miceland before, and I think the night before then you have the other semi-final, obviously, which is Rathvilly and Pal, and before that you have the other intermediate semi-final. But anyway, Rangers Tinryland, Brian Donoghue.
I'm going to say Tinryland, based on what I was trying to say there about natural football. If Tinryland are going to play that defensive system, like the one team that isn't going to even consider that an object is probably going to be Rangers. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happens on the day. But if it could be a footballing battle, Tinryland, but if they concede a goal in the first 20 minutes, they'll have an awful lot of work to do. But I'd say Tinryland.
Right. I'm putting my prediction out there first before I come to the other two gents. I think Tyrone are obviously going to set up very different to Bynasdown. Bynasdown at times just had Shane Clark in front of the two lads, which just wasn't enough. And I think with a blanket and a bank of people in front, I think this gives this one a completely different complexion. So can Rangers adapt? Have they got the know-how to go and adapt and work around that? And can they go through the lines and force things? I'm not so sure. Tinryland are a couple of years into this project now. And yes, Rangers aren't to be written off. And actually, just before I give the prediction, this will tell you how tight things are and how tight the public think things are. Because we ran a poll yesterday on who everyone thought was going to win the championship. 206 votes. Rathvilly 35%, Rangers 27%, Pal 25%, Tinryland 13%. Now either there's not too many people from Tinryland on Twitter, or I don't know what's going on. But well, it is still a hard one to predict. I was kind of edging towards Tinryland, but I think Rangers might just find a way here. I think they might just find a way to have momentum. So I'm going to give Rangers the nod. Stevie.
Right, well, at the start of the championship in our WhatsApp group with Kevin and Joe, I went for Tinryland, just because I for no other reason other than it extended long enough. You know what happened. Now I've been impressed with them, and okay, look, their system lads will give oboe and blah blah blah. To beat what they've had to beat in front of them beforehand, this is a test of the highest standard coming, and they're going to be asked questions. Will they be able to answer them? We don't know till next. But that's Sunday. That's the Sunday match, is it?
Yeah.
I'm looking at a bit of size around the square. Is it Conor Ryan, John Murphy? These lads, will they be able to? Are they more physically able to handle the likes of Feathers, Chris Nolan, these lads in one-on-one situations? Probably better equipped than some other teams. Back to Brian's argument, the goal. Are Tinryland going to hit more than 12 points without a goal? If Rangers kick a goal, then we have trouble. I'm going for Tinryland slightly.
You went a long way about that.
Yeah, well, I'm going back to my prediction. I don't know where I came out 4 or 5 weeks ago. Tinryland, but 12 points, will that be enough? That's what they're hitting generally. 12. They don't look like scoring goals. You know, I know they got 2 against Ballinarban, but since that, you know, the just Tinryland, but clean sheets. Back to that one. You keep a clean sheet this stage of the championship.
Yeah, they won't concede 4 goals. I don't think they'll concede 3 goals. They might concede 2 max, I'd say. But anyway, Christy.
Mount Leinster.
Right.
And I do actually think that Tinryland are a lot more polished this year. And it'd be interesting for the matchups, like can they sacrifice a Shane Redmond to go back and mark on the bigger lads? Kind of, I think if the matchups are right, it'll be a ding-dong battle. But I just think football-wise, I go Tinryland, but for the pure competitive side, I go Mount Leinster Rangers because I just think they have a bit of variety with the type of ball they can deliver in, and high balls just cause mess, lads. So I'm going to go Mount just barely.
Bodies have to get in support. If it's an isolated situation where it's Eddie Byrne, Chris Nolan, and half of Tinryland and the surrounding areas, I don't know. I just don't know. But anyway, that's the T's and C's of that one. We'll go to the other semi-final. Pal and Rathvilly. Brian, I'll keep it brief. You're going to say Rathvilly anyway. Is there any reason, apart from the one head versus heart thing?
I think I seen on social media this morning that Conor Lawler's in America. So presumably he won't be back. So go with that.
Right. So, okay, we'll go with that. So Rathvilly for Brian. Christy, you come back to you again.
I will go also with Rathvilly. I think, yes, there was a massive win and it just straightened their season out completely, and I think they'll have a big boost of confidence and momentum yesterday.
Right, Stevie.
I'll go Rathvilly as well. On the pretense that yesterday's game still isn't fresh enough for next week. Pal are going to be coming in fresh. That can work both ways. You know, the extra game will bring on Rathvilly, no doubt about that. And the boost of beating their Og, you know, I is Conor Doherty back? Jason Kane, I don't know. These lads missed a couple of games. Jason Kane, I think, is vital. I know he didn't play against O'Loughlin. Maybe he was away. He wasn't talked out at all, and he wasn't on the team sheet even. Go Rathvilly.
The one thing that I suppose there's a few things Zero didn't do against Rathvilly, but they didn't move the ball at pace and look to, I hate using that word transition because it pisses me off a little bit, right? But get from back to front quickly enough and inject a bit of pace into it in general. I think Pal have loads of that as they've proven. I think if they bring that to it, they might have enough. If it's playing on Rathvilly's terms, obviously Rathvilly are going to win it. But I'm going with Pal. Okay, intermediate football. So, two really enjoyable games on Saturday evening. Grange and Naomh Eoin was the first one, and obviously Calavon Donegal and St. Patrick's was the second one. Now, I missed the first 20 minutes of Grange and Naomh Eoin. I apologise. Eddie Rocket's got in the way, and priorities are priorities. So I got me 20 minutes back at the end of it because I went extra time. So there is a God out there somewhere. A very enjoyable game of football. Very, very high standard. Lots going on off the ball. Lots of big hits. Real championship fever. Yeah, very good game. In the end, Naomh Eoin prevailed 115 to 17 points. It was a Cottle Tracy score late on that gave them enough. Lots of drama. We could go into massive detail on it, but I'm just looking at the running order here and we're running out of time a little bit. But yeah, again, with really good standard. John Murphy kicked some great scores, I have to say. I don't know what age the man is, but every year he seems to be getting that bit better. He's probably beating himself up over an effort or two near the end. They were tough enough shots to take on. Didn't work out, but at times he actually carried Grange and he was fantastic. John Byrne actually kicked off a few nice points as well. And Naomh Eoin with Dublin Mick up there. Anywhere Dublin Mick goes, lads, he gets results. He's won with Asca. He's won with Kilbride. He got the Blues from being on the verge of folding 10 years ago into a senior semi-final. And everywhere he seems to go, he just seems to bring that with him. Now Naomh Eoin are back into a semi-final against Kilbride. And you wouldn't know what happened. Second game, I think St. Patrick's were sucker punched a little bit. Calavon Donegal hit them for a couple of goals. The Roberts brothers, one of them came from a short kick out that went arse ways and they punished them. And they're always kind of chasing the game from there. They went 6 down, got it back to 2, had a goal chance of their own. Calavon Donegal showed a bit of grit again. John Corwin, lads. John Corwin's about 41 or 2, I think. And he is flying around the place still. Hopping off, lads, winning ball, dropping back, helping out the defence. He's like a 22-year-old box-to-box midfielder. He's just brilliant. They lost Scally Kelly after about 20 minutes. He went off crying, and I'm not going to abuse him too much because I'm going down to him in the morning. Revenge could be sweet, but they're playing good football. Joe Roberts kicked some great scores. And then you look at it from Tulla's point of view, they've now become, I suppose, a consistent intermediate team who are capable of challenging. And they were only a couple of kicks away from progressing in this one. But all in all, 2 really good games, I have to say. I'm going to go to the junior or the intermediate predictions now in a sec as well. But just to talk about the junior, didn't see Tinryland and Pal. It was Tinryland 3-11, Pal 3-8, which sounded like a very entertaining game as well. I think it was it the Tinryland GFC report I was looking at on Facebook there. As good a junior A game as you see. And I suppose the opposite in terms of a contest Friday night when Loughlin Bridge bet O'Loughlin was it 3-15 to 2 points in the end. And I certainly didn't see that margin, Stevie, to be honest with you. I had a feeling Loughlin would win and probably win rather comfortably, but didn't see O'Loughlin only kicking 2 points in that. But life goes on. That's the joys of it. So I'll go to fixtures and I'll go to predictions because I think Thursday night the action kicks off and you have Clonmore against Tinryland in the first junior the first junior A semi-final. And that is going to be a tasty one, indeed. But there's going to be one winner at the end of the day. I think that's Clonmore. And are we all unanimous on Clonmore for that?
Clonmore.
Yeah. Has to be.
Sorry, Tinryland. And then the following night, it's Loughlin Bridge versus Ballin. I like what Loughlin Bridge are about. I think Dr. Cullen is now suiting them as well. They've had a couple of games in there over the last couple of years. good young side, bit of grit about them. Yes, I sound like I'm biased. Lockbridge and Balling games are typically fucking hardy affairs. They cut lumps out of each other, but there was nothing ever really said afterwards. In actual fact, I remember after a replay, I think in 2014, that Balling bet us by a point in, after extra time. Wilson, a few of the boys actually came down to Meanies after that. And when I say we knocked lumps of shy out of each other for 2 games solid, that's the way it was like. And sure, isn't that what it's all about? So I think they'll be skinning hair flying Friday. I think Loughlin might have enough to prevail, or at least I hope I do. Lads, where's that going? Stevie?
Yes, look, no, most Loughlins haven't got to see him, and I thought I was going to get to see Friday night, but I'm not going to know because we have a match. But Loughlin, it's a game like that like last year, they ended up in the semi-final against Grange, give them enough of it, and to be building year on year. Liam Brendan, Ed Nillis were the county team there, and so these boys have to come back and show the bit of experience they've earned with the county there, and they have in fairness so far. And this is one where they'll have to show it again. And I give them the nod. Like their training's going well, from what I've heard. And but like Ballin, it'll be, there'll be nothing in it. It's going to be, I'd say, if it's a high scoring game, it might suit Loughlin a bit better, maybe. But the weather's be good, I think, for the week, so you'll be hoping to be a good open game. But I give Loughlin the nod on that.
Good stuff, Brian.
I'm going to go with Ballin. Like the Wonder 3 group games, I think they had a score difference of 45 or 50, which, okay, can't read too much into it, but it's at Junior A. But they still have a couple of lads who did play senior football not too long ago. So I think Ballin. Sorry, Kev.
All right, no water. Christy?
I have to make an admission. I haven't seen a lot of Ballin, to be honest, this year. But I've seen Loughlin, and I like what they're about and what they're trying to do. I think the last few years they've gathered a bit of a momentum, so they won't be scared off by the occasion. So I suppose just on seeing them, I'll go Loughlin. Right,
there we go. Moving on to intermediate then. So as we said, there is a game apiece along with a senior semi-final. Saturday at 5:30 now at Cullen Park, Lavington Eagle and Fenna. In a word, Fenna for me. That's how many words that, lads? That's 3. But anyway, Christy?
I'd probably go off Fenna. Like, they're a seasoned outfit now at this stage, and surely they have to get over the line. But they have to get over the line. I'll go Fenna.
Right, Brian?
I'll go Fenna as well, for no obvious reason.
Okay, Stevie?
I'd go with Fenna, but Don Kildavin, they're probably promoting produce a whopper of a performance, and these are the games, the knockout games. This is the one they can. The 3 games won already, not worth a stocking. This is the game you have to win. You lose this, you're gone, and a bit of pressure on Fenna now because they've been going well. I'll give Fenna the nod, but Kildavin, 2 Roberts started last day, scored a goal apiece. I can understand. I'd see the boys coming in the subs and wondering, if there's better lads than that to start every day, and the boys can be a box of tricks. But still, it's time for Fenna to show that minor team they had there, that Cormac Lummus, Parry Hines, all them boys, they need to step up and get into an intermediate final and try and get hold of intermediate and into senior.
Navan and Kilbride. Ha! That's a nice one to kick things off on Sunday, lads. Yep. I think
it'll be the game that the GAA will finally decide that footballers should wear helmets.
George Darcy wore a hurling helmet in a football final years ago, I think. He got a bad enough injury. There's a photograph of that going on somewhere. I am going with Jesus. I'm going with Navan, just about, in a big arm wrestle. Stevie?
I went from last week, I'll go from again this week.
Good man. Brino?
Extra time and a fisted point in the last minute to get Navan over the line. And my apologies to the Foleys.
I think if it goes to extra time, now this could bite me, but I think if it goes to extra time, Navan win it just profile alone. And I think Kilbride are a team made for extra time, and extra time is not made for Kilbride. Christy?
I'd go Dave Owen. They're thereabouts last year, and they seem to have the show on the road again this year. So they know how to win. They're teak tough, so they are. So I go there.
Quick word on one thing before I go on to the ladies' finals, lads. So Richie Burke, in fairness to him, got out Microsoft Excel last week and did up a series of things that got a lot of, I suppose, people thinking in regards to the area teams and stuff like that. And he did one without area teams, and having looked at it, I don't think 10 first teams, I go back on my word, don't think it's a gore. That's fairly unanimous now, I'd say, among all of us here. But he added in area teams and what they might look like. Again, eligibility is intermediate and junior players that have played senior, that goes without saying. 1 into a semi, 2 and 3 to the quarters, and the 2 lowest ranked teams in relegation. So teams 4 in both groups might be safe. There is another criteria which is up for debate. Max of 4 people, 4 per club. Minimum 1 starting, minimum of 2 per club on the panel. But the divisions, he has call 1 Carlos South with Kilbride, Kildown, Donegal, Fenagh, Naomh, Ballin, Loughlin Bridge, St. Mullins, and 1 North, Grange, O'Hanrahan, St. Patrick's, Clonmore, Fighting Cocks, and Aska. And I'm not going to name people, but a few people did get in touch. They didn't want to do it publicly, but there was a few private versions of teams and what they may or may not look like. And just say South, for example, it could be something like the following: Keane Kavanagh, Liam Roberts, Jamie McCabe, Mark Curry, Pádraig Kynes, Owen Nolan, Sean Smithers, Sean Murphy, Liam Brennan, Owen Roberts, Dara Foley, John Michael Nolan, Pádraig Nolan, Jack Tracy, Aidan Lillis. There's no Niall Hickey was saying that in that team that's on a county panel. That would be a tasty enough senior side, lads.
That's a senior team, yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. Is it a no-brainer to bring this in, or is there anyone against this whole thing if it was to be a goer out of the 3 of us that's here on the screen?
Well, the thing with the area teams is how do you work it? When the area teams were on before in Carlow, I might flashed up a couple of them there, 1991 or whatever. There was a couple of, but they were knockouts. There's never been one done in a group scenario. So would clubs buy into it or players buy into it? They might play Thursday night with South Carlow and the following Tuesday night with just Samuel Hester Range or Kilbride or whoever it is. You know, would that be a runner? You know, it is going to be group matches.
That's the biggest quirk in it. The fixtures is the biggest quirk in it. So when or where it's happened elsewhere, to the best of my knowledge from doing a little bit of homework on it, is that you might play with your own club, junior or intermediate, on a Wednesday/Thursday, and the divisional team will play on the Sunday. That there'll always be, you know, it wouldn't be a game one day after the other. Even at that, it's probably a big ask because the fixtures are ran off week on week in Carlow.
Is there scope to only enter the area teams at quarterfinal stage? Maybe. For no other reason than to avoid, and like, I mean, it's hard to ask if you say, but just looking here at Grange or a Fenagh pushing for an intermediate, I don't want to give any of their players at all to an area team. Whereas if you were able to somehow run off the intermediate and junior championships and give them their full promotion and make them a really big deal, and then run your senior championship almost at the last, you know, you have your junior champions, intermediate champions, whatever. But then there's the interest there in players to keep going there for an area team, play senior football. It's hard to.
Yeah. What do you think, Christy?
I think it'll come down to clubs and numbers, really, to be honest. Like, if a club can survive and they have the numbers, I think they'd want to push ahead as a club. If numbers and age profile were a bit off for a club, I'd see it as an sign up because lads want to be playing competitively. So, yeah, interesting. But
yeah,
sure, so, like, foremost, you can put it out there, it's the clubs that'll decide it.
It is, yeah. And the thing is, though, right? So you're looking at this, I suppose, from the point of view of, yes, they're still playing with their own clubs, but you have guys playing in a senior club championship that may then be in the shop window to play senior county. Whereas, just say at the moment, it's a big ask for someone that's never played senior county to come in as a junior A club player unless you're a Sean Murphy and a freak of nature, to go in and make that jump, because it's a big jump up the ladder. And then the other positive thing is they come back to their own clubs then, having seen what a senior setup was like and played at a high standard. And it should really, if the player is influential enough, feed off on everyone else and look for them to raise the bar at the lower level, and maybe should benefit the club at intermediate and junior level. Now, it's not always the case, of course, but I don't know.
How does it work in Kerry? Like, how they have the regional teams. At what stage does the area team slide into the championship?
Yeah,
I've tried championships though.
I've tried to work this out. Right, there's a county championship and a club championship, basically, right? But in Kerry occasionally, though, and in other counties occasionally, there is still a crossover of fixtures whereby someone, and in Cork it happens a bit, whereby someone might be actually playing on the Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday and have to play a Sunday again. And sometimes it's happened where they play 2 days in a row. That can happen. Simple as that. But I don't know. The fixtures, if fixtures weren't a problem and there wasn't too much of an ask on players, I think that's ultimately what would let the whole thing down. I think a lot of clubs might like the idea of it. There's probably some that wouldn't as well, no doubt. But anyway, that's it. I suppose we may leave it at that. It's maybe a chat for another day. Move on to the ladies' finals. So, Christy, congratulations. Rogue were probably struggling a little bit not too long ago. Fair play to yourself and Paul. Fahy went in to give a dig out. I know Marion Hayden is over the side, and Marion and Pamela Hayden actually sent their apologies. Neither of them were available actually to come on tonight as well. But you must have been very thrilled with that.
I have to mention Cottle Kelly there and Seamus as well. Delighted with it. I said it to you in a text there the other day, and I don't know if lads have coached ladies football or girls or that, but they're mad to learn, and you get a return on your coaching very, very quickly off a ladies team. A lot of hard work, effort. I'd say no one kind of gave us a chance, but it was nice to get over the line. I thought we'd never get the ball over half back line there for about 10 minutes in the second half. But no, it was good standard football on display, and two well matched kind of teams as well. I think I was just asking around, I think it's the healthiest the club has ever been regarding ladies football. There's a team at every grade, so that's brilliant. So onwards and upwards now.
Yeah, that's the hallmarks of progress, and people often think that it is just about the senior team. It's not. These players come through ranks, and you put things in place to get them there and get them there at a high standard. And it's mad actually. I think it was Simon Ray was talking about it, like for years. There was barely even a club at all, and barely any teams underage. I know what you just said. That's progress. Like, people pin progress down to a senior setup, but the bigger picture is always a play. Like so.
Okay, yeah. It's everywhere. Like there's many people that go unnoticed in the club that are doing Trojan work behind the scenes. There's many coaches that are there week in, week out, rain, hail, sleet, snow, in the sunny weather, and they're driving it on. And they're all volunteers, and it's in every club. But like, hats off to them. It's brilliant, because to see so many even young ladies up there the other day supporting two teams was brilliant to see. And like, no matter where you are in the world, ladies sport is the biggest growing sport. Any ladies sport is just growing and growing and growing at a phenomenal rate at the moment. So it's something to be great to be part of. A great kind of experience for myself and Paul and Cottle as well. We just came in and implemented something where Marion is the manager and the driving force behind it all, really. So yeah, it's good, just nice to be part of it, and a great occasion and a great day as well.
Yeah, probably give Sarah Dyle a shout out. I think she got player of the match in the end, and this is another progressive thing I like seeing. It doesn't matter what team the best player on the pitch is playing on, whether they win or lose. I think they should get player of the match. And the example I always use was Mouse Cavan in a minor final years ago. I think he got 4-6 and didn't get man of the match. Anyone that scores 4-6 in the match has to get player.
We played in an under-14 final. I was marking Alan Barrett, and there was two man of the matches. I don't know how it worked out, two sponsors. I got one and he got one.
Kev, that minor final, Mouse did get it, didn't he? And
No,
everyone said Dermot Byrne should have got it.
I think Dermot Byrne got it. Dermot Byrne got it with his 2 or 3 points from midfield, and Mouse got 4-6 and didn't get it. Almost certain. Almost certain.
I was in the press box that day, and I think myself.
That's why you sir. There you go.
I think me and Kieran Murphy and somebody else picked it, and I'm nearly sure we picked Mouse, and we got 2 or 3 people up to the press box afterwards telling us that we were wrong and that it should have been Dermot Byrne. Have I got that completely wrong?
I think you've got it the other way. I think it was the other way around. But you have the 2 lads right anyway. Moving on to the Senior B final anyway. St. Anne's and Rathvilly 4-7-6 is how that one finished up. They're making good progress down there. In fairness, they're probably the next coming team, you could say, St. Anne's. So well done to everyone involved down there as well. The senior final then, O'Loughlin and Bennekerry Ryland. Not an unusual fixture by any matter of means, but I think in the lead up to this, when you hear no Cleany Hay, no Roisin Boran, no Niamh Kelly, that's a serious loss for any team. And Stephen, by all accounts, it seemed like they were still ferociously competitive. And, in general, what was it like?
Yeah, it was, I suppose, a bit like Rogue and Rathvilly in one regard in the first half. O'Loughlin were probably a better team, a little bit better. And the scoreboard was slow to start moving. It was 4 points to 1. Say, come up 5 minutes before half time, and Fiona O'Sullivan hit a high ball out the barn that she hit one in earlier, and Katie Bullen almost got on the end of it, and it was a good catch by Nicole Hanley this time. Nicole just took her out for a second, and probably, Katie Bullen was actually coming in top for her again and ended up in back of net, and it was 4 points to 1-1. And in fairness to O'Loughlin, went straight back up, and they hit 3 points in, I'd say, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Gemma Carpenter hit 2, and I think Rachel hit 1 as well. And so the goal was literally waxed off before half time came. And as you said, in fairness, coming into it, the 2 Sire girls were dodgy as well. They were under the weather for the last couple of days as well, but they scored 8 points between them, 6 in play. Gemma Carpenter was lethal, wearing number 13. She had 4 points in play. A squeeze and nut, the loveliest kicking action you'll see of any scores were in there yesterday. She got 2 of the ones at the end of the first half. There, 2 of them 3 that was saying were vital. That gave O'Loughlin a bit of a, it was 1-4 to. Sorry, it was 7 points to 1 at half time then. So that goal, the impetus they got the score point the first minute. Sinead Hayden scored a free, but they didn't score again till that goal from Fiona O'Sullivan. But it was a lot of hard work, and geez, there was, we're talking about Gary Dempsey and these lads in the I'm not going to mention the name, the age of Deirdre Tomlinson and Michelle Dermody. By God, they pulled out some ball they were, it was a war of attrition. The middle third there was a lot of, Emma Brennan was back centre back as Ellen Atkinson has gone travelling. So then, ironically, Emma didn't get to start travelling up the field until after half time. The game opened up a small bit then. Caoimhe O'Neill got player of the game after the match. Herself and Helen Roach got through a mountain of ball. And so did Audrey Murphy, Fiona O'Sullivan as well. Just that sort of a game where the goal came about 5 minutes to go. Rachel served, the game was after opening up, and Rachel, she gets a scent of goal. She could come in, drew the player, dropped it over to Eva Lawler. Eva Lawler bats it into the back of the net, 25 years on from her father scoring a goal in our senior win against Pal. Brian probably had a little more work to do than Eva had to finish it off, but it was good to see. I think there's about 8 or 9 left off the team. Won the Leinster, 4 years ago. So they're behind a few of them there, like Sheafra O'Neill, younger sister of Caoimhe. You have Jenny Sire, younger sister of Rachel. Niamh Roach and Helen Roach missed out that time there back playing as well. As you said, the injuries at the far end, how can you, and O'Loughlin would have known that going in, but I've seen county finals before where there's been big players missing, and you have to play what's in front of you, just totally blank out that. And Roisin Bourne, Niamh Kelly and Cleany Shelley, 3 crucial injuries. I know we knew going in, it was 2 of them, and then Roisin Bourne was somewhere in the last week or that. Elaine Ware was very good, but very good away from the goal, and it had to be out, if she could have been afforded in, I'd have to say Marion Hayden's refereeing, she let a bit go. I have done an excellent job on it. Another high ball came in, and in fairness to Lane, where she not knowing the ball, and I'd say Nicole Hanley's not half the size of her, and in fairness she got a fist to it, and the Lane where left Nicole in the net, no free. That sort of a game was let go. Like, and I said Mary done a very good job. Possibly the first Carlow female to referee a ladies final. Maybe I'm wrong now, but I know Leah Mullins is a referee, and so was Pam as well. So, and Leah Mullins, another one, she was driving forward there from the first minute to the last. She got a point near the end of it there. Just O'Loughlin have their way to Westmeath intermediate champions in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and the winners of that is a home to Longford champions. So they'll be a senior champions, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll go on. But like as I said, going into the game with what injuries Bennekerry and Ryland had, you always felt O'Loughlin had they probably had a bit more chance than normal, 60-40. Like last year, probably, Clean Shea was the difference, and Niamh Kelly as well. Rocha Moore was very good last year. So imagine taking any 3 forwards over starting, and all county players as well, so O'Loughlin deserved to win. It took a while to get that gap, and they'll try, and they're out in the Camogie next Saturday against Munster Rangers, a lot of them, so they'll be trying to get to the final of that as well.
I got to look at a few bits and pieces of that there today to see no one, and obviously saw the highlights of some of the others there as well. And I ran about here the whole time, and it's not to sound patronising or condescending, but the standard has come on an awful lot. Like, when was the last time you saw a team scoring 15 times and getting 15 points and not winning a final? Like you're 0-3-9, St. Bridges 15 points. I just think in general, come on, leaps and bounds, and fair play. Well done, lads. I want to get to the AOB part. I have a couple of shout outs actually before I finish up. Gary Phelan was in touch. He said, give Davids under 13s a mention. They won the Division 1B Sunday and went the whole year without losing a game. There's another one. Happy birthday, Paddy Illis. Was there cake up in the curry, Stevie? Was there?
Well, if there was a cake, there was no Paddy because he wasn't into that.
Must be his birthday, so.
Yeah, back to Gary Phelan's there. The Davids under 13 lads. In fairness, now I no good for them chaps now. They were playing Rathvilly and that, and they were giving away a lot of size, there was a lot of small lads in that team, and I heard it was a right battle. They got up by a goal. They got a goal early on, and that was the difference in the wind up. And in fairness, Rathvilly, they only waited 24 hours for revenge. Their minors put our minors out of the championship tonight. So no, it's good to see, because the lads there. In fairness to the Sabre Cushion and Og, in some of the groups there, if you topped your group, you went into the higher division then. And so you got a chance to play with the bottom half of the top of the division above you. And that's the division they ended up. So they started off in Division 2 and ended up in 1B. So they're technically the 5th best team. Whereas would have been, if they won the Division 2, they would have been 9th best. So as Gary, I'd have to agree with Gary Phelan for once, and that's not very easy, like that.
Lads, any other shout outs?
A fairly prominent Grange footballer was in touch to say that he's with a couple of lads on the beer discussing the North Carlow proposal. So young Bailey is on about that there.
Oh, good man. Yeah. Shall we see? Can we get more light of it? Christy, all good from your end?
All is good.
Oh man. Okay. Well, look, lads, we'll call it quits to that. Thanks a million for jumping on with us once more. Much appreciated. Brian O'Donoghue, Christy Bulger, and Stephen Bambrick. Before we finish up, there was other fixtures that I should have given out. The Junior B semi-final, Rathvilly and Asca, that is on Sunday evening at 6 o'clock out in Fenagh. And just scrolling backwards to see when the other Junior B one is on. That is actually on Friday night as well. And it is Ballarana up against St. Mullins. The Junior C draw was made. I'll just give you the fixtures because I don't know when they're taking place exactly, but dates to be announced is Clonmore and Munster Rangers and O'Hanlon's and St. Patrick's. So that's it for this evening. I want to give a shout out to the Recovery Hub in Carlow, Milano's Takeaway, Bindingstown, Seamus Bourne Electrical, number 1 for your floodlights, Carpenter's Bar Lounge and Restaurant, Rail Wheel and Limited, the Baba's Barbershop, Fine Framers, J&J Services, Scots, Bounce and Castles, and Precision Media Productions. We are very much looking forward to a festival of semi-finals this weekend in Carlow. They should be tasty indeed. And guess what? We'll be back here again to review it all. Until then, take care.